You know, I've always been passionate about babies. When I was a little girl, I always hoped that somebody would leave an abandoned baby on my doorstep. And I read a book about my grandmother and found out she had the same passion. When she was a little girl, she used to take an extra petticoat to school in case she found a baby. We were in Haiti for a number of years in the 80s, and I took care of 2 babies there that needed my help. And then I realized that that really was something that I could do and wanted to do. Then we started fostering babies when we lived in Florida. Then we moved to Malawi in 1991, and that's where I thought I can really do something here, because I heard about babies being left in the hospitals, abandoned or orphaned, and just lying there with no attention, just barely enough food. So that in 1995 I opened a home there for infants, Open Arms Infant Home. That's my baby. We moved here to Tanzania in 2003, and I already had the idea in my head that this would be another good place to start a baby home. So I approached our church leaders and asked if I could use part of the property that the church owns to build a home, and they were in full agreement. That's what we did. We just started in faith. I had one contribution of $5,000. I said, let's break ground and start laying the foundation, and we'll just see how it goes. And God has been tremendous in His blessings, and at every stage that we needed more money had come into the bank for us. And in 18 months, we have built a $75,000 home, 6,000 square foot home for taking care of orphaned and abandoned babies here in Tanzania. So it's just been very exciting to see how God leads and is true to His promises. Right now in Tanzania, the government is saying we have about 8 to 10% HIV prevalence in the country of the overall population. And since AIDS is accentuated by pregnancy, a lot of mothers die shortly after giving birth to their babies. Or often they're left in the hospital with no one to care for them, or maybe they're given to a relative, extended family, and they just have so much put on them with other family members and being left with needs, financial needs, that they just can't care for them. We've had at least 2 babies that were found in coffee plantations, just left under a bush in hopes that somebody would find them, and you never know what really happened in their stories, but obviously somebody was in a great crisis to leave a baby like that. So that's what we're here for, is to take care of these infants. We also sometimes have babies whose mothers are still living, but are so sick with HIV and AIDS that they can no longer care for them. So we're there for those vulnerable children as well. So far here at Cradle of Love, we've had about 6 children who've come in HIV positive. One of them has actually passed away because he had the virus. And the others, a couple of them are still unknown because they're very young, but they seem to be doing very well. As far as clinical manifestations, they don't have any of the virus, and they're growing well. So we have high hopes for them. And then there's been 3 or 4 who, by 12 months, there was no sign that they had the infection. So in other words, their positive test was just showing the mother's antibodies that were in their system because their mothers were positive. About 1 in 3 babies born from an HIV-positive mother will actually have the virus. The others are just carrying her antibodies, and between 12 and 15 months, those antibodies are clear of their system, and if they don't have any antibodies, then they don't have the virus. So we're finding that percentage seems to be holding, and we're very grateful. I think good nutrition helps a lot, because in those first 6 months of their life where they don't have their own immune system developed, and their mother hasn't been able to give them many immunities because her immune system was very devastated. If they have good nutrition and proper vitamins and mineral intake, then we can keep the opportunistic infections away. And then their immune system is strong enough to combat any of those things, and they do great. Well, this is Stacy, who came to us at 8 months old. Her mother had died of AIDS when she was 3 months old. A grandmother was supposed to be caring for her, but really didn't have a whole lot of interest in the baby. So she was very emaciated. She had no body fat, just skin and bone when we got her at 8 months, and she weighed 8 pounds at that stage. She was also testing HIV positive, and when I saw her, I thought, this kid really must be infected with the virus because she looked so badly. And I really didn't expect her to live. She was one I thought we were going to lose. But she started gaining weight and growing, and not only growing in her physical, but growing in our hearts, because at that time we had all the babies in our home. And I guess when you get a special one that you don't think is going to survive and you put so much energy into it, somehow they just plant themselves in your hearts. So my husband and I, we're adopting Stacy, and we're in the process now of adopting her. So she's been in our family since she was 8 months old, and she's now just over 2. Our children come to us referred mostly by social welfare of this country. All of our babies have to be channeled through social welfare, so that they know what children are out there, what homes they're in, and if they're adoptive parents, how they can match the two up. We also work with 2 other organizations who refer children to us. One is another baby home that's very close to us, but they feel because they don't have enough staff and medical expertise there that they cannot accept HIV-positive babies. So if they have one brought to them that tests positive, they refer it to us for care. And another is another Christian organization who has an HIV/AIDS project out in the surrounding communities. And they often come across a newborn baby or a baby who is struggling because a mother has become so sick she can no longer care for it, and they refer to us. We try to make Cradle of Love just that, a place of love and security for each child that we get. Not only do we provide the medical care for them and the good nutrition, but we want them to feel like they have a family. We don't want an institution. That's why I always call my places a home, because the nannies are their moms, and they play with them, and they interact with them, and they teach them. They learn Swahili and English then from me and the volunteers. And the people say often when they come to this place, we can't believe how happy the children look. And I kind of think, well, sure, they're loved. They're happy. That's what happens to children when they're loved, and so that's what we provide for them.
The babies here they're almost spoiled. They are very happy and they get a lot of attention. That's very positive. The nannies are amazing. They do a great job. They're very good with the babies. They sing with them. They have a good spirit.
We care for them up until the age of 2. Many people say, yes, well, what happens after the age of 2? We have several options. One is that they return to extended family who, after the child is weaned and able to eat solid food, they can then cope by feeding them the regular diet. The second option is adoption. And we have found, with the abandoned babies especially, that we are having good results with adoption here. And it seems to be about 50-50 as far as Tanzanians adopting and foreigners who are living in this country adopting. And the third option is, if we can't get them into a permanent home, is to work with a long-term care facility, and they would be placed in a group home where they would be raised then until adulthood. But of course, adoption, in my eyes, is probably the best option, because then there's a family who are able to cope financially, emotionally, and give the child a good, stable environment.
I've always wanted to have a baby of my own, but my doctor has told me that I'm not able. I decided to look into adoption, and social services told me about Cradle of Love, and that is how I first came here. When I came to visit, right away I was attracted to Emily. All of the babies were wonderful, but Emily spoke to my heart, and I chose her. Now that all of the adoption procedures are over and Emily has come to live with me, everything is going wonderfully, and I pray to God every day that she will continue to grow in good health. I'm so thankful for the excellent care that Emily got here at the Cradle of Love. I'm doing my best to continue that excellence in care now that she's come to live with me. She's developing well, she's growing, and seems to be very healthy.
Unfortunately, right now, the government in Tanzania does not allow international adoption. You have to be a resident of Tanzania to adopt. You can be a foreigner, but as long as you're a resident here, living here, show that you have a job here and that sort of thing, so that they can do their home studies.
I've always wanted a large family. When I was young, I told my mother that I wanted 10 children, but I didn't necessarily have to have a husband. I like being a mother, I like being a wife, I like staying home. Children just bring me fulfillment, and I feel like I have something to offer them. When I saw all the children at the Cradle of Love, and I thought about my own children growing up in an orphanage, it just broke my heart, and I thought it would be a small adjustment for us to take in a few more. This is Matthew. Now, Matthew has cerebral palsy. His mother left him at the hospital a few hours after he was born. And so he came to Cradle of Love the very first day he was born. I started visiting him when he was 6 weeks old. And then through a lot of effort, we were able to find a family member, his grandfather, and he signed the relinquishment papers. And we brought him home at 6 months old. And we are so happy that Matthew's part of our family. He's just Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky. There was never a question as to whether we would still take him. Because if I had a biological child that had a problem, I couldn't send him back. And he's been such a blessing in our lives, and never any question. Once I identified him, he was mine. One evening when we came to Cradle of Love to visit Matthew, Devonna asked me how many we wanted to adopt. And she pointed out that Tyson's mother had already signed relinquishment papers. And so we went home that night to think about it. The next day we made our decision, and in 1 week's time, Tyson, who is now David, is in our home. Tyson wasn't a baby, but I had seen him every time I went to visit Matthew and thought he was precious, and he's worked out beautifully. I saw Jalos's picture on the Cradle of Love website, and I noticed that his father had already agreed to relinquish him. Now, at that time, we already had 2 adopted children, but he was in my mind, and so it wasn't too long before I was contacting Devonna to check on him. And his father signed the papers, and we took him home, and his name is Elijah now, and we love him to pieces.
Well, Cradle of Love is doing a wonderful work. They have the nicest facilities that I've seen among orphanages. They are well above what is normal. They have the care for the children that is just tremendous. I just can't say enough about them. They're just great people.
I will forever be indebted to Cradle of Love because they loved and cared for my children before they became mine. I think the quality of care is top-notch, and I just believe it's a wonderful blessing to many people in Tanzania, to foreigners who want to adopt. Just a blessing.
We have a lot of young ladies who are interested in volunteering contact us through our website. Previously, they would have to stay in our own home and eat meals with us, but we were fortunate in October of 2007 to be able to complete the Cradle of Love apartment, thanks to some volunteers who actively fundraised for the home. The apartment can accommodate up to 7 ladies, and we provide the housing at no cost to those who work for us at least 30 hours a week. The volunteers provide their own living expenses and their own meals, which they can cook in the modern apartment kitchen, and there's a nice lounge area for them as well. And when I say volunteer, it truly is that. They have to pay their own airfare here and have money for their living expenses while they're here, but we do provide, a housing situation for them. And when they come, they do various things from, helping at feeding time to helping us when we take babies in for immunizations, taking care of the furniture and things that we have, helping me in the office with various things, go shopping for the food stuffs for the babies, all sorts of things. And as we get more babies, of course, we'll have a need for more volunteers. It really helps the children get that one-to-one attention that we're looking for. The biggest need is probably our ongoing need of expenses for food for the children, for our salaries, for our nannies, our Tanzanian ladies who work for the home, and that helps their families as well, so that's good. And then we have 2 men who work outdoors for us as well. And then I have a dream to extend the home a bit, meaning I want to make a medical unit so that we have trained nurses on staff around the clock so that we can even give better care and take babies at a smaller size out of the hospital where they get very minimal care here, and be able to have a full premature unit for the extremely malnourished and small babies. We get donations from all over the world, but mostly from North America, United States, and Canada. We've gotten some from Australia, UK, and we get volunteers from Austria and different places. They go back and spread the word, so the donations continue to come in from all over. And we really, really appreciate that because it has helped build our home and it has helped take care of the babies in their day-to-day life. We're grateful for those donations from everyone.
If you would like to help Cradle of Love save the babies of Tanzania, please send your tax-deductible donation to GEM Resources in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Please note on your check that your donation is to be directed to Cradle of Love. Or you can make your donation online at cradleoflove.com. Thank you for your kind support.